49-year-old by the name of Robert Nelson was actually wrongfully convicted of rape back in the 1980s. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison as a result, but just recently he was exonerated thanks to DNA evidence. The reason why he was exonerated is because there was a 70-year-old clerk by the name of Sharon Snyder that helped him file a successful motion so he can get tested with the DNA evidence, which led to his exoneration. Now, it turns out that the court was very unhappy with Sharon Snyder for helping him file a successful motion. So just 9 months shy of her retirement, they fired her.
So let's break this down a little bit. She had served for 34 years. She's due for some benefits, etc., 9 months before they fire her. Now, why? So here's the interesting part. The judge calls her into his chambers and says, look, both the attorney and the prosecutor, quote, had a problem with your intervention in the case. And they believe that this guy would not have been able to fill out the right forms if it weren't for your help. In fact, he had tried 2 different times. He's poor, he doesn't have representation, doesn't have lawyers. He had tried twice on his own to fill out forms and had been rejected because they were the wrong forms or had been filled out wrong, right? And so they say to her, if it wasn't for you, he probably wouldn't have filled out the right forms and wouldn't have been exonerated. You would think that that conversation would end with, great job, oh my God, this guy was innocent, thank God you helped him, and now we've fixed the situation. But how sick is our justice system that they're like, how dare you? You have blemished the reputation of the prosecutor and presumably the judge or whoever else just a tiny bit, maybe 0.01%, and you set a guy free who's innocent? What's wrong? What's wrong with your priorities? And then not only to yell at her, but to fire her.
Yeah, to fire
9 months before retirement. How sick are these people?
I think a lot of it has to do with embarrassment. They're part of the justice system, and the justice system has failed so many. And, she's drawing attention, or she's helping to exonerate someone that spent 30 years of his life behind bars, by the way. I mean, how sick is that? 30 years of his life gone. He will never get those years back. But what's incredible is taking advantage of people who don't have the resources or the smarts to fill out the right paperwork and to get this DNA evidence to exonerate them.
Or the education. How the hell would you know what form is the right form if you didn't go to law school and you're sitting in prison and no one is helping you, right? And he finds one decent human being, and then of course they got to get punished for that. And to me, yes, go ahead, Steve.
I actually don't think that their motivations were nefarious like that. I don't think it's payback for embarrassment. I don't think it's an effort to get her fired right before she receives benefits. I think this is just an instance of people blindly following bright line rules and enforcing things in that little circle, in that little bubble, without seeing the ramifications elsewhere, because she did technically violate rules. She's not supposed to give those documents and interfere in a case. I mean, technically, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that I had with the justice system when I worked as a prosecutor. There are all these rules, and the rules are in place because, by and large, they do work. And it's to minimize mistakes by stupid people. But sometimes the rules get in the way of justice. So someone takes the initiative to do the right thing that helps everyone involved, and then what that does is it upsets other people who are rule followers and rule enforcers, and they come down like a house of bricks on the person who did something out of the ordinary.
I understand what you're saying, but as to their motivation, I 1,000,000% disagree with you. I think they got embarrassed. Look, if they liked her, you think that one rule violation, they're going to fire someone and have such severe consequences for retirement, etc., because they're like, oh, you didn't follow that one technical rule? How many technical rules do people let people skim by on?
Before you guys continue, I want to read one more graphic. This graphic is from the judge who actually made the decision. He says, the document you chose was, in effect, your recommendation for a motion for DNA testing that would likely be successful in the division. But it was clearly improper and a violation of Canon 7, which warns against the risk of offering an opinion or suggested course of action.
To me, you read that quote and you see the second sentence and you see a violation. I read the first sentence and he says, see, it had a high chance of success. Why the hell did you do that? Now this guy's out and we're embarrassed.
No, Cenk, calm down. First of all, there's no indication whatsoever that that judge was a judge who erroneously put him in prison in the first place.
No. I'm not suggesting that at all. I want to be clear on that. I'm saying the judge thinks, prosecutor's my buddy. The whole system, the attorney, everybody in this room is my buddy. And you embarrass my buddies. Well, this is a good old boy network. Who gives a shit about that poor guy who was running away in prison? What the hell's the matter with you? Don't you know your job is to protect us, not the powerless? No, that judge is an asshole.
Now, you are totally imputing a whole bunch of things that are nowhere close to being in evidence. I mean, you're just making stuff up now. I mean, you are.
Wait, we just showed you all the evidence. What, like, you think that the judge is a good guy and was just like, oh gosh, I'm really worried about that one rule violation. I'm gonna screw over this lady who's worked here for 34 years. Oh gosh, I'm such a moral and decent person. Oh, and I'm so ecstatic that she got this innocent guy off of prison, but since I'm a stickler for the rules, I'm going to try to destroy her retirement.
Yes, that's what I said. I think the judge is a good guy. Again, you're making shit up.
So
Wait, all right, just bring it down. You guys think.
Really quick question for Steve. Is there room for human judgment when it comes to situations like this? Is it the type of system where if she does break this law by helping him out, he has no choice but to fire her, or is there room for human judgment on the judge's part?
Okay, so I don't know exactly what the rules are there, but here's how these bureaucracies work. And I was in the belly of the beast. I saw it in person. You have these rules. So if he says, okay, great job, congratulations, you did this one thing, he's afraid that someone else will do something else, take things into their own hands, and sets a precedent, and then he will lose control. It's all about maintaining control and your sphere of I mean, like the judge in that courtroom, he or she is like God. They do everything the way they want to do it. And they don't like things, I mean, if you do anything out of the ordinary, they don't like it.
Yeah, setting innocent people free? You have interfered with my sphere of influence. But I'm a really good person that had to fire you because you impinged upon my sphere of influence by like 0.5%. No, that judge is a terrible person.
I'm not saying the judge is not a bad person. I'm just saying that the judge is firing this person because they broke the rules, not because he was embarrassed because she helped him out. I mean, that's not it.
We're having an argument about intent.
I'll say yes. So I'll say this. I'll say if it was her first 6 months on the job and she made this and it was so egregious, don't you give her a warning the first time and then you let her go? I don't know. I'm not in the legal profession. And then if she's 70 and she's 9 months away from retirement, don't you for sure give her a warning?
Who knows? I mean,
Right?
maybe he doesn't like this clerk, and they've had a number of problems. And this is a perfect excuse to get rid of her. Who knows what the situation is? But I mean, I don't necessarily think that this is an issue of, well, I'm embarrassed, so I'm going to punish her. I mean, maybe it is, but there's no.
We all bring our biases into this. I also worked at 2 prosecutors' offices. Now I was just an intern. When I was in law school, I did 2 summers, one at a local prosecutor's office and one at the U.S. Attorney's office. Okay, and I know those guys too. The guy at the local office, oh man, if you even looked at him the wrong way, Justice, you kidding me? You embarrassed us. How dare you? And he would regulate so hard on that. How many offices have you been where the boss, his 99.9% concern is, am I seen as, a model of respect and power and etc.? And he doesn't give a damn about what's right or wrong. He cares about how he looks. And in this case, when you're a prosecutor, you're a judge, etc., you got people's lives on the line. And so if you do that, in a case like this, you're a bad person.
In this case, there was no issue of embarrassment. I mean,
you don't think so?
No, there isn't. And here's why, Jen. First of all, just calm down. Okay?
No, I won't.
No, just calm down.
But Steve, it's the stories we always cover. There's no justice for anybody who's poor. The guy doesn't have a lawyer. One decent human being he finds who helps him a little bit. And what do? We crush her. That's why I'm upset.
No, but you're upset. But your being upset is actually counterproductive. We have to figure out why this happened and not attribute all these, malintent purposes. Well, let's figure out why this happened. We all agree that it's wrong.
It happened because we don't give a shit about poor people. and we care about the reputation of the honorable people, like the honorable prosecutor and the honorable judge in these places.
So if she didn't do, but let's just look at the
You're
opposite.
demagoguing the issue without any facts.
What do you mean without any facts? The guy's fucking innocent, and they don't give a shit about that. All they care about is, oh my God, why did you let him out? How dare you help that guy? Why did you let him out of prison? You're fired.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
Did we just not report that fucking story just as it was?
That guy got out. That guy got out. They signed off on the motion so they could have the DNA testing. They did the right thing there because the actions were put in place. Now the injustice here is that she got fired for doing the right thing because it broke a rule. So let's figure out what can we do so that people can do the right thing and break a rule and not get punished for it. That's the real solution, not ranting and raving about people, getting payback for embarrassment. The embarrassment is not an issue here. I agree that it is on many other instances, but here it's not because.
Well, you're making an assumption. I'm making an assumption that you're right, that they have bad intent based on the evidence we see. You're making an assumption they don't have bad intent. And that assumption I don't understand at all.
No,
why would you think that they're like lovely guys who just decided, 9 months before your retirement, I'm going to screw you over royally over one stupid rule?